Hi, good evening, Region 10. Welcome to this special program where we have some members of the People's Progressive Party. In our studios this evening who is no stranger to you, the Minister within the Ministry of Finance, Bishop Juan Edghill, Prime Ministerial candidate, Ms. Elisabeth Harper, and Dr. Peter Ramsaroop. He is also a member of the PPPC. Today, the team, they visited Region 10, they met with persons, and they interacted. But first, I'm going to allow them to just give you some warm greetings.
Well, Jonathan, if I could start, I would like to begin by formally here on television welcoming to Region 10 and presenting to Region 10 our Prime Ministerial candidate, Ambassador Elisabeth Harper. She made a visit, we could say an impromptu visit today to Region 10 to get a feel of the ground, to meet with residents, to talk with people. And of course, I would allow her to say more about her own impressions and what she found. But I would want to use my time to formally welcome her to Region 10 and to introduce her to our viewing audience for her to be able to express her thoughts. So I would put it over to Ambassador Harper.
Well, I'd like to thank Bishop Edghill, Minister Edghill, for his welcome, and you, Jonathan. It was a pleasure for me to be here in Linden and also to be being heard by those persons who would be hearing my voice across Region 10 now. And we did have, as was said, an impromptu visit, but I am happy that we were able to visit so many places within such a short time today, and I was really warmly received, myself and my team, and I was able to have a first-hand look at several of the entities, from the business, private sector, to government-related entities. And we also had a short walk through the town center.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ramsaroop.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with Ambassador Harper and the team here, the Minister, walking around Linden. Linden is an exciting town. I believe the opportunities that we have to make a lot of things happen. In the past, we have talked about many of the economic infusions. I think we have seen, as we were with the Ambassador Harper at the Technology Center today, 100 people working in the call center. That's a plus for the region, and more of those economic changes are needed, and the goal is to work within the community to make some of these things happen even faster.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go straight into the program. Ms. Harper, I'm guessing this is your first visit to Linden since you've been made to the public as a Prime Ministerial candidate. How was that been? How does it feel? What was the interaction, and how did the people of Region 10 receive you?
Well, as I said, I was warmly received, and I know that it was my first introduction to many of them, and certainly it has been a long time since I visited Linden per se. But we had our visit to the Tucson call center. We went to the Ministry of Human Services, Social Security, where we met with the probation officers, the nursing school, the hospitals here and over at Wisma, and to the Linden Enterprise Network as well. And it was interesting to see the potential for business development. I was particularly struck by the Youth Vision project, where they encourage young people to come in and continue learning, helping them with their projects, and also encouraging them to get onto a database where they could have the opportunity to, get jobs. And so for me, experiencing all of these, going to all of these entities, it did give me an insight into the potential that Linden has and the interest of the people of Linden to see their community develop. And I think that with the plans that the PPPC has in its manifesto, these plans do involve bringing opportunities, greater opportunities for jobs to Linden with the introduction of a regional industrial center. That's what's going to be introduced across other regions as well. And also giving the private sector and employers incentives to employ young people, in particular those persons who would have just been leaving school or university. And so I really, in just driving around, and also I have to say too that the young children, we were able to give out some kites, and just the excitement, so many young people. It was very touching to see them all being so excited and also being able to give something to them.
We visited 4 areas, apart from the institutions that Ambassador Harper visited. We went to Block 22, Spikeland, Green Valley, and the valley of itself on
Victory Valley.
Victory Valley. And Ambassador Harper and her team gave out about 400 kites to the children. And that in itself was an excitement to see today.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm also guessing that it's also, if not the first time, it's been a while since Dr. Ramsaroop has been in Linden and meeting with the people of Region 10. What expectations do you see for Linden in the future also, since you're also part of the PPPC?
Well, I've visited Linden, I think, probably more than a lot of cities in our country. Linden has always been an exciting town for me. I see those opportunities, and every time I have a chance to talk to the young people in Linden, the entrepreneurial spirit is there. And as Ambassador Harper said, there are certain incentives that the government now will be pushing to ensure that entrepreneurial spirit is taken, from maybe creating a factory, a brick factory, to expanding agriculture. So if the road to Brazil is completed in this term, what are the opportunities there, such as truck stops and car washes and whatever the entrepreneur spirit is given. And that is what is exciting about Linden. And as the ambassador said, the plans for this session for Linden, I think, will be more in making these things happen at a faster rate. And when you look at those young children today take those kites, that's our generation. They're not our future, they are today. So we've got to work harder to make those children our today.
So what I'm hearing here are plans of diversifying the economy of Region 10, since it's not, per se, a bauxite mining town, which the bishop has been preaching time after time, and the PPPC government, the plans they have in store. Prime Minister Samuel Heinze, let's say, have Region 10 at heart and had done so much. What plans do you have for the people of Region 10 after May 11?
Well, certainly to encourage the young people. The youth, and this is not to sound condescending, but young people are going to be our future leaders. And so we need to encourage them to, educate themselves, to remain at home, help to build the country. So one of the issues that I would like to advance is youth empowerment, women's rights in particular as well, and you know, also we have a sector of our population that needs to also be encouraged to know that they have their rights and dignity respected, and that is the elderly, the disabled as well, you know, vulnerable groups. So the social aspect is very important. If people are comfortable, if people can have a good education, if they could have good health care, then they would be able to enjoy the economic benefits that are coming to the country because our economy is growing.
Okay. On that note, it's said that you've been a champion or an advocate fighting against domestic violence. Not just in Region 10, but countrywide, domestic violence has been an issue. Is there a game plan to fight against domestic violence?
Well, yes, we have to make sure that our Domestic Violence Act is fully implemented. We have to ensure that the communities can have programs that would sensitize our women to domestic violence, you know, ensuring that people can speak out. And this is not just something for women. You know, the men have to be involved as well. Domestic violence comes in many forms. So it's not just physical, it's mental. And so, you know, we have to have a whole community-oriented approach, nationalistic approach to domestic violence.
That might be another case, guys, because you made a point that domestic violence is not about women, it's about men also. And sometimes what might be a man downfall is pride. Maybe if you go and make a complaint to the police station, maybe they might tease him or something. How can you encourage a man to speak out against domestic violence?
Well, we have to work with them. You know, men have different sensitivities, and so we have to make sure that the Men's Affairs Bureau is also strengthened, and to have men's groups working with men. You know, it's everybody that has to come on board, and the police have to also come on board, because when you go to report a case, that is the first point, and if the police does not accept the report and the person goes back home, and God forbid something, you know, happens there, then, you know, it's another statistic. So we have to also work with our police to look at how they treat with cases, how they treat with the evidence, you know, in cases. So it is a broad-based approach that we have to take.
But important to note, in the recent past, quite recent past, in the citizen security program and police modernization, police stations were remodeled to facilitate a special room for the reporting and interviewing on domestic violence matters. So you're not standing over the counter and telling a sergeant or police officer, I come to report that my wife beat me up or my husband beat me up, or a case of rape and the rest of it. So part of the modernization of the Ghana police force through the financing from the citizen security program, we have started with, I think, 15 police stations, and that is to go countrywide, to be able, and the police ranks of themselves at the time of their recruitment, when they're being trained to become constables, dealing with domestic violence is part of the course that they have to deal with. So it's not just for the inspectors and the sergeants, it's right on to the levels of the constables, and that is already in place.
This visit was kind of a surprise. When can Linden have your presence again?
Well, the next visit would be on April the 12th, when the PPPC has its rally here. And I certainly would like to be coming back.
Any closing remarks?
Well, Jonathan, I personally found it a distinct honor and a joy to have hosted Ambassador Harper and her team. A across Linden today. I was overjoyed to see the reception of the people, which clearly says that Linden is part of Guyana, and they're prepared to listen, and they're prepared to interact. A number of persons took opportunity to raise issues with Ambassador Harper to have it addressed by the administration that she's going to be a part of. And to me, that is quite heartening, and I'm sure we would want to give the commitment. Our engagement pre-election, it would be nothing in comparison to our engagement post-election. Should the PPPC be returned to government, our engagement with Linden and Region 10 will be more aggressive, with a clear agenda to advance the development of Linden and Region 10. And of course, on Sunday, April 12th, at Luken Pen Square on Wisma, we expect thousands of Lindeners to come out and listen, because the important thing is the message. Like I've been saying in my public meetings, wear green, wear gold if you want, but come and listen. Come and listen. And Ambassador Harper would be there herself, President Ramsaroop would be there himself, and other leaders articulating for Region 10 and for Linden our vision of transformation, modernization, and the development agenda that we have for this place. So I look forward to seeing all my colleague Lindeners on Sunday 12th at Luken Pen Square, Wisma Shore.
Okay, thank you, Bishop. Any closing remarks, Dr. Ramsaroop?
Our national unity. It's all about us, all over this country, working together to make Guyana a better place.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Region 10, for tuning in to this special program.